Hey everyone, and welcome back to the channel. Today we're diving deep into a really special and nuanced type of tarot reading. This isn't about predicting the future. It's about reading the energetic weather, especially after deep healing work. A friend of mine who does profound causal body healing, what you might call do nothing level healing, recently had a session with someone named Sandy. The timing was significant, with a clear shift happening around 3 or 4 in the morning. So this naturally calls for what I like to call a two-threshold reading. We'll pull one set of cards for the time before the shift, which we'll call the descent phase, representing the unconscious preparation. Then we'll pull another set for after the shift, the emergence phase, which is all about integration. For each phase, we'll use a simple 3-card structure. First, the overall field energy. Second, what was happening underneath the surface. And third, the guidance for that phase. This approach allows us to get a quiet, intuitive snapshot of the energetic landscape around both the healer and Sandy, mapping the subtle shifts that occur during this kind of deep work. So let's begin with the first phase, the period before 3 a.m., the descent into the deep, unconscious layers. For the descent phase, the work happening beneath the surface, we're looking at the causal unwinding and the memories stored in the nervous system. The first card, representing the field energy, is the Hermit. This is classic inner cave energy. It speaks of a solitary, subtle, and precise consciousness. It's not about doing or forcing anything. It's simply about holding a light in the darkness. This aligns perfectly with my friend's healing method, a quiet, non-interfering presence. The goal wasn't to actively fix Sandy, but simply to hold a lantern in that space, allowing things to unfold. The Hermit tells us this session was about witness healing, not active intervention. If you have a background in physics, think of it this way. Instead of applying force, you're allowing the system to self-organize and find its own equilibrium. It's about creating the conditions for change, not forcing the change itself. Next, we look at what was happening underneath the surface during this phase, and for that, we drew the 10 of Wands. This card points to old burdens, an accumulated load and long-term strain that could even be ancestral. This feels very much like what Sandy has been carrying, not the healer. So before 3 a.m., the work was about making contact with this deep-seated weight. We're talking about old survival stress, the stored responsibility of feeling like you have to carry everything alone. The 10 of Wands often represents chronic holding patterns rather than a single dramatic trauma. This resonates with what I know about Sandy's situation, a long journey with slow progress, dealing with layer after layer of deeply ingrained patterns. So at this stage, the system wasn't in a state of release yet. It was simply locating the weight, identifying the source of the burden it had been carrying for so long. The third card for this descent phase is our guidance card, and we pulled Temperance. This card is all about integration, blending, and a gentle kind of alchemy. The message here is incredibly important. This was not a time for a purge, catharsis, or any kind of dramatic clearing. The energy was about letting things drop, mix, settle, and regulate on their own. This powerfully confirms that the do-nothing approach was exactly right. If the healer had pushed for a big release or tried to force anything during this time, it likely would have backfired and overwhelmed the system. Temperance is the ultimate card of nervous system safety. It advises a slow, careful blending of energies, like pouring water from one cup to another until the temperature is just right. It's about creating harmony and balance before any further steps can be taken. The priority was to ensure the system felt safe enough to even begin its process. Now, let's move into the second part of our reading, the emergence phase, which covers the time after 4 a.m. This is the post-session integration period, that quiet moment after the deep causal contact has been made. The first card for this phase, representing the new field energy, is the Star. This is such a beautiful and hopeful card to see here. The star signifies restoration, subtle hope, spiritual nourishment, and a deep cellular recalibration. This isn't about fireworks or a sudden miraculous cure. It's more like the feeling of the body finally taking a deep, full exhale after holding its breath for a very long time. The star often appears after deep trauma processing, when the nervous system finally receives the message, okay, maybe it's safe now. This feeling of safety applies to both the healer and Sandy. The energy is very cosmic and spiritual, yet also incredibly grounded, which perfectly fits my friend's unique style of healing. Looking underneath the surface during this emergence phase, we find the Page of Cups. This card signals a gentle emotional reopening, a return to a childlike softness and curiosity. It suggests that a new sense of emotional safety is beginning to dawn. Small, tender feelings are starting to return, and there's a capacity for vulnerability without the fear of being overwhelmed. For someone who has been bedridden and stuck in long-term patterns, this is actually a massive sign of progress. The pages in the tarot always represent small but very real beginnings. This isn't a full-blown transformation. It's a thawing. Imagine the very first signs of spring when the snow begins to melt, drop by drop. It's a delicate, tentative, but very real shift toward new emotional life. The hard, frozen ground is finally starting to soften. Finally, our guidance card for this emergence phase is the Four of Swords. The message here could not be more direct or literal. Rest, stop, integrate, do nothing more. After this kind of deep, subtle work, the absolute worst thing you can do is start analyzing it, checking for results, or trying to help more. The nervous system needs time and space to digest the experience. In somatic healing terms, we know that neuroplasticity, the brain's ability to reorganize itself, happens during rest, not during effort. If you push for more work or more processing right away, you interrupt the crucial process of consolidation. The new pathways need time to solidify, so the best and most supportive action is to do nothing at all. Deep sleep or a quiet, restful morning is the most profound healing modality at this stage. So, let's pull all of this together and look at the big picture interpretation. What this two-phase reading shows is a clear, regulated, and healthy healing process. The before 3 a.m. phase was all about locating the burden through silent witnessing and beginning a process of slow, gentle alchemy. The after 4 a.m. phase then moved into a state of subtle hope and an emotional thawing, with the clear guidance to integrate everything through deep rest. What's most striking about this reading is the complete absence of drama. There's no miracle cure, but there's also no collapse or crisis. And honestly, for this kind of deep, layered work, that is the healthiest and most sustainable outcome possible. The cards feel very much like they're describing a regulated nervous system, not some chaotic or mystical event. And what's particularly fascinating, especially for my friend with a background in physics and mathematics, is that this reading is extremely low entropy. There's nothing explosive or chaotic here. Instead, we see a gentle sense of order emerging from a previously stuck state. And really, that's what true, lasting healing so often looks like. It's not a lightning strike. It's the quiet, steady dawn of a new day. Thank you so much for joining me for this deep dive into an energetic reading. I hope it gave you a new perspective on how tarot can be used to map these subtle inner landscapes. If you enjoyed this, please give the video a like, and don't forget to subscribe for more content like this. See you next time.